Tampa Pride loses more than $100,000 in sponsors over DeSantis threats, while parade and festival sold out. For much of this century, gay pride was literally banned in Tampa's Hillsborough County as infamous County Commissioner Rhonda Storms led a vote to adopt a policy in Hillsborough County government to abstain from acknowledging, promoting, or participating in gay pride recognition and events. Little g, little p. That's an exact quote. It passed effectively banning all sanctioned pride events from Hillsborough County. Storms then added an amendment to complete the erasure of the LGBTQ plus community by requiring a supermajority to repeal the ban. It took more than a decade to reverse that hate. The LGBTQ plus community thought it was the worst attack they would ever see. That was until 2023, and along comes Governor Ron DeSantis. In an exclusive interview with me, Tampa Pride's president, Carrie tells a chilling tale about the attacks from Tallahassee on Tampa Bay. But he also has lots of news about the success of Tampa Pride's event that is coming up the last weekend in March. Tampa Pride is arguably one of the most successful in Florida, operating on a budget that is in the black and an amount of $470,000. A leading University of South Florida economist estimated the economic impact of 2022 Tampa Pride at nearly $4 million. Tampa Pride is historic Ybor City's largest single economic impact. In an exclusive interview with Tampa Pride's president, Carrie, he expresses regret of what he is watching from the governor's mansion. For example, he reports Pride has lost 6 major sponsors at a cash value of more than $100,000. Interestingly, they are all national companies outside of the state of Florida. West says, quote, national out-of-state business brands have pulled out of the parade and festival because they are afraid of the politics going on in Florida. They report that they are worried about the Don't Say Gay and the growing issues over drag queens, end quote. West indicates difficulty with alcohol companies because they are particularly sensitive to Governor DeSantis' actions. He indicates his orchestrated attacks on the LGBTQ plus community and allies are creating a chilling effect on their decision-making. He says, quote, the director of one alcohol sponsor said that if Governor DeSantis can take on Disney, he could become president and then he can take on any business, including ours, end quote. West also reports that the governor's office is threatening Pride in other ways. As example, Tampa receives a $30,000 grant from Florida's Department of Cultural Affairs, and when the political arms of state government realized the state was supporting a gay organization, an inquiry was launched and initiated as to why. While Tampa Pride is fully funded through this grant in 2023 and in 2024, West says he is concerned about what is going to happen next. Tampa Pride has received threats and official letters. A sample of one was shared by the Florida's Department of Professional Regulation that was sent to Orlando Philharmonic for their RuPaul Drag Race Christmas show in December. Florida is threatening to suspend or revoke their liquor license. Hate groups continue to send emails about the disruption of Tampa Pride. One hate issue we can confirm at Queer News Tonight. Drag queens cannot and will not be banned from Tampa Pride. Rumors have persisted for weeks that this would be the occurrence stemming from Florida Department of Professional Regulation going after the liquor licenses of Orlando Philharmonic, Broward Center for Performing Arts, Our House, here in Miami, and others. In fact, Tampa Pride may be a model for other organizations in Florida. Pride has gone on defense by having the alcohol-connected day and night events at the historic Cuban Club. Those events are now 18-plus aged events. About drag queens at the festival and parade, West said, quote, There is no law against it, and it would be a fascist police state action to prevent our cherished drag community from celebrating Pride in Tampa, end quote. While the hate politics are bad, the news for Tampa Pride is actually very impressive. The festival's 160 booths are in waitlist status now. VIP is sold out, and the parade has the largest number of entries in history at 140 units and sold out on a waitlist now for the 2.5-hour parade. Particularly impressive when you consider these results are more than 1 month prior to the event. Cupcake will headline along with Jordan Frost, and particularly interesting news is Grand Marshal will be the legendary Peppa Mache as she will celebrate her 70th birthday at Tampa Pride. West concludes his conversation with me by saying, quote, "The governor has an agenda to create a culture war against the most marginalized in our community. This is an agenda created by Ron DeSantis to become president of the United States. It won't succeed at Tampa Pride," end quote. Well, it's interesting news. The notice that was shared to Carrie West was the copy from the state of DPR's threat to Orlando Philharmonic. Even what happened there, what happened to Broward Center, what has happened to our house, they're all in threat status. They're in vague, we're kind of warning you and we're going to take away your liquor license, but we haven't taken any action. Why? Because we could, because there's a drag queen, and what was the drag queen, and what does it have to do with anything else? So that's the kind of threats that are going on at Tampa. Is there a tangible effect? There absolutely is. Over $100,000 of sponsorship loss from businesses, especially out of the state of Florida, that are concerned about what's going on in Florida. He lays a case out very clearly. But simultaneously with these, and this is particularly valuable. We have Palm Beach coming, we have Miami Beach coming, we have Stonewall in Fort Lauderdale and Wilton Manors coming, and others. This is another to watch closely. So there's value in what Carrie West is saying in Tampa. And Tampa, the entire state of Florida is with you. Don't forget, the entire state of Florida is with you.
We love you, Tampa people. Because me and a couple people from production were there last year for Tampa for Pride, and the parade was remarkable. It was more than 2.5 hours long, okay, and it was wonderful. And I was able to speak to a lot of the locals, and they loved their Pride. They didn't have a Pride for so many years because of Miss Storm, and they're so appreciative of all the organizations that come in and do all this, to the point where they have a waiting list of people that want to get on board. I hope they'll find somebody to cover that $100,000 that they've lost because of DeSantis.
And I hope that more and more national companies realize that those threats, those so-called threats that are sent out, are essentially toothless because they can't move forward. I think the fact that they're sending threats instead of actually enforcing it is saying a lot about the power of that particular rule. Basically, I think the state government's position is that I can't really enforce it, but I can threaten to enforce it. Because if you do enforce it, then there's a legal standing to appeal. And then they're going to have to justify why, you take away someone's liquor license because there's a drag show. And then you have to explain why, quote unquote, drag shows are, quote unquote, sexually explicit. That is something that the DeSantis administration cannot twist their way out of it. It's
funny, and I know you want to jump in, Jamal. I just continue to point out about drag queens. R-rated movies are sexually explicit, and minors can be present for when their parents make that decision. The governor's going to have an impossible task to define why this is different than what we do in every movie theater in the state of Florida. Sorry.
No. And also that fear-based tactic, it really holds no ground in Florida because Florida's biggest economy is tourism. And for Tampa, clearly this is one of their biggest pulls for tourism. So that also is something that's probably a blind side for corporations that exist outside of Florida. They're afraid, but they don't know that tourism is what attracts everything here and what grows the economy. And clearly Tampa Pride is the biggest winner here.
I would love to see what other events that they have pull in $4 million of revenue.
Yeah.
Even though I know it's a sad thing that some of the national funders, the national sponsors are pulling out, I wish more organizations and funders would pull out of events that that are having issues with the LGBTQ community, and maybe they would see the power of the LGBTQ community and we wouldn't keep having these issues. And I also think, and I know a lot of people don't see it the way I see it, but I still feel that this is an attack on the most marginalized community, the T in the LGBTQ. There are more trans people that are being affected by this because there are so many trans people that are also drag queens.
This is their livelihood.
It's their livelihood. It's the way they survive. And it just seems as if you go back to before Laverne Cox, it seemed like everything was quiet. There was never an issue or a problem with the trans community. They weren't even talked about because it seemed like they were underneath the table and nobody cared anything about them. But now that the trans community seems to be thriving and they're winning awards where they're competing against cisgendered females and things of that nature, it seems like they want to kick that marginalized person and be like, you know what, we see that you're rising up and that you're taking care of yourself, but let's just give you a peg down.
Yep.
LGBTQ plus news is vital for our community and for the broader world as a whole. We have enough enemies at Fox News. Tucker, Sean, and Laura are loud. We need passionate allies. Happening Out Television Network, Queer News Tonight, and It's Happening Out are literally out of the closet and into the headlines. Our community needs your support. Like this broadcast and subscribe now to ensure the growth of the entire LGBTQ plus community.